Hi, I'm Faith, and this is The Simple Things. Today's episode, I'm going to make two quick, very simple soups. When you think of quick soup, you think tomato soup, you think chicken noodle. I think we're all getting a little sick of those. These are two very fast and very cheap soups that you can make that have nothing to do with chicken noodle soup and tomato. Okay? My first one is pasta fazool. This is one of the most favorite soups of Italians, and it is incredibly cheap. You would not believe it, but the flavor is out of this world. I am starting with a pot of boiling water because I want to start cooking my ditalini right away. You want to cook your pasta that you're putting in your soup separately and cook it until it's really got a good bite to it before you put it in the soup. This way it's not going to absorb all of your liquids in your soup, only a little bit, and you'll have a nice tender pasta. I am going to add salt to my water. Always salt your water when you're boiling pasta. It's got to taste like the sea. And don't use iodized salt when you salt your water either, or your pasta will taste like iodine. Now, I'm going to use my ditalini. Quick tip, when I store my pastas in my container so I don't have to have all this stuff written down, I put a little sticker underneath of the lid of the pasta with just the cooking time, because for most of us that's all we need is the couple of minutes for the cooking time. And this way your container still looks nice on your shelf. Now I'm going to add my ditalini to the water. Check my time, 4 to 6 minutes. Since I'm putting this in a soup, I'm only going to cook this for 4 minutes. Make sure you get your pasta a quick stir a few seconds after you put it in there, otherwise it'll clump up. And now we will start with our soup. Pasta fazool, like I said, is an incredibly simple soup, and most of this stuff is just a dump and go. Cannellini beans. Any kind of white bean is fine, navy bean or whatever, but we use cannellini beans. Petite diced tomatoes. Don't bother with the salt. And don't pour it all over yourself. Red pepper flakes. Pasta fazool is a very spicy soup, so you want plenty of red pepper flakes. And as you can see, quite a bit. A little bit of cayenne pepper because I like my spicy. About a tablespoon of garlic powder. I'd say about 2 tablespoons of chopped garlic. It's a very garlicky soup. And you might even add a little bit more to this once it's cooked for a little while. Lots and lots of garlic in this soup. That started up, and then you want to add a couple cups of a good chicken stock. If you have a homemade stock, which usually I do, go ahead and add that. Otherwise, go ahead and buy yourself the boxed stuff. Sometimes it's just fine and you just don't have the time, or you ran out of chicken stock. But make sure that it's stock and not broth, because broth really just doesn't have anything in it. It's just watered down stock. Stir everything up. Let this cook for a while your pasta cooks. Already smelling delicious. You get a little bit of black pepper and salt. A couple dashes of black pepper. You don't need much. You've already got plenty of spicy in there. I would say about a teaspoon of salt. You'll check it later to see if you need some extra. This is the soup that was made famous by that Italian song you hear all the time. When your food makes you drool like a pasta fazool, that's amore. And no, I can't sing. That's when you're in the kitchen by yourself making magic, it doesn't matter. Just gotta wait for that. Okay, your noodles are mostly cooked. Once they're drained, just go ahead and dump them into your soup. Stir everything up. It's already looking delicious. Now, this isn't exactly a vegetarian dish, but this is a meatless dish. We used chicken broth or chicken stock. You can use vegetable stock if you wanted to make this entirely vegetarian or even vegan. But this is one of the most favorite soups of mine. As soon as this is cooked up, we're going to give it a taste. Now that our soup has been cooking for a few minutes, and really it does not take long for this to come together once your pasta has absorbed as much liquid as it's going to, and you get this wonderfulness. I'm going to give it a quick taste for salt. A little bit of salt, a little bit of garlic. Trust me, you'll figure out this no measuring thing eventually. Alrighty. Stir that in real quick. Give myself a little taste of that soup. Those beautiful beans, tomatoes, and the noodles. Ugh. Get yourself a good crusty bread. I'm telling you, it's a meal. See if I can get a bite without burning myself. Look at that. Spicy, garlicky, simple, awesome. That's pasta fazool. Now we're going to make our cream of mushroom soup. This is another one of my absolute favorites. I love it. And it really is super cheap, especially when your mushrooms are on sale. Now, mushrooms are like sponges. I know you want to rinse them. I know it's easier, but what you really want to do is just rinse them off with a cloth to get all the dirt off. Bust off the stem, and you're good to go. Just brush all that dirt off. There's nothing wrong with that. Mushroom soil is pretty much the gold standard of soil. It's like the Maserati of soils. You're good. Chop these up, and you don't want to chop them thin because you want some nice pieces of mushroom in your soup. Okay, so get yourself about 2 tablespoons of butter. This butter is not only going to cook your mushrooms, but it's going to help you make your roux later on. Get your mushrooms in there. Now normally if you're going to be cooking mushrooms separately, you're not going to put so many in the pan. We all know the saying, don't crowd the mushrooms. But these ones aren't going to get crispy. These are just for soup, and they're going to be all nice and soft. So you want to get these coated in the butter there while your pan heats up. Okay. A little bit of salt, about 1/2 teaspoon. You can check it later on if you need more. And for this recipe, because it's a cream sauce, white pepper, not regular pepper, I'm going to do about 1/2 teaspoon of that for now too. Also, mushroom has to have thyme. Has to. So, you're going to put about 1/2 tablespoon of thyme in there and let that cook with your mushrooms. This way the herbs can get nice and toasty while everything else cooks. Now that the mushrooms have gotten good and soft, see, it's already creating its own little gravy there. Now we're going to make our roux. Now for any roux, you're going to do a tablespoon of flour for a tablespoon of butter, and each tablespoon is for a cup of liquid. Since we're going to have 2 total cups of liquid, I have 2 tablespoons of flour, which we'll mix with the 2 tablespoons of butter that we use to cook these mushrooms. Get these things all nice and mixed together. We're going to cook off that flour taste and create that nutty wonderfulness that is roux. Okay. Now, we're doing a cup of stock and a cup of milk. So I'm just going to add them together in the same cup. Why use 2, right? They all go in the same place. So there it is. Another 2 cups of liquid. Now before you pour this in, you want to turn the heat up because you want to really get that cooking. Okay. And carefully stir. So this is good and incorporated. Once this actually starts boiling, that's when the roux is going to do its magic, and it's going to thicken up the milk and the beef stock. You want to use a beef stock with mushrooms. Beef stock is what's going to hold up to the taste of the mushrooms a lot better. It's just a much better flavor combination. If you're in a pinch, you can use chicken stock. It'll be okay, but it won't have quite the same richness to it. I'm just going to let this cook for a few minutes until it gets nice and thick. Now that the mushroom soup has cooked for a couple of minutes, it's not going to be super thick. If you really want it thicker, you can make some more roux. If it doesn't come out as thick as you want towards the end, you don't know what to do because you already cooked your roux, mix a little bit of cornstarch with some of your beef stock or the milk and add it in, and that'll thicken it up to however you want. This is plenty good for me. So I'm going to turn off the heat. I'm going to give this a taste for salt. A little bit more salt. Just usually the case with these recipes. It's easier to add, impossible to remove. Get that salt incorporated and get ourselves a nice bowl. Mushroom soup. This is such a hearty winter soup. Lots of these nice mushrooms. I so love mushrooms of any kind. You can use any kind of mushrooms that you want for these recipes, but most people are just used to your button mushrooms, and they're certainly the cheapest and less intimidating to try. Okay, let's give this a try. Savory creaminess. Oh, it's so hot. The mushrooms are perfectly tender. The thyme, beef stock. It's just an awesome soup. You gotta try these. These are my 2 quick, simple soups, and I hope you give them a try. Enjoy.